There's order in everything when it comes to God. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says that he's not an author of confusion, but he's the author of peace. In order for him to be a king, that means he rules over territory and he rules over a domain. So since he rules over a domain, that makes that the king's domain. You put the word together, it makes the word kingdom. He rules over this domain. Now, since he rules over this domain, he has territory and he has rulership there. Also, he can change and make rules in that area, and he can set things in order. That makes him Lord. Now, the thing about him being king as well as him being Lord, that means he's over stuff and he has the authority and he has the influence of the people. Now, the next thing is he also is the priest. And the reason why he's the priest, he teaches the law and he's able to be the one that's in between for a sacrifice of the people. So this what makes Jesus the king and priest, because he has to do the sacrifice for the sins. Now, the other thing is he's the prophet. Now, the reason why the king is the king, the priest, and the prophet, let's break down what he is for the prophet. He can speak things that's happening and forewarn you of what's going to happen in the future. And he can speak things over your life to let you know what's going to happen to better prepare you, and also to speak to change situations. Because if I'm king over this land, I can change this land. If I'm king over this, I can change this. The word says he has the heart of the kings. So that's the reason why God is called the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, because he's over everything else. Now, if he's over everything, that means that it can't be a priest that's just a normal person that's going to have to go into this line. It has to be someone that's forever and nothing changes. So what does that mean, Pastor Jay? I'm happy you asked. That means that there's no way that you can stop giving tithe, because it's an order forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. Then the other thing that you have to realize is, if it's an order forever, it tells me that there's something bigger that comes out of it by me following it by grace, by me understanding the principle, and by me understanding the passion. As long as I'm going by law and going by doctrine, I don't get the full benefit of it. So only thing I am actually bound to is all that I know. So if I only know this much, I'm only going to be able to receive this much, because that's all I'm bound to. So since God is king and he's law and he's the priest and he's the prophet, he's not bound to anything because he's outside of everything. So if I'm following that, I'm not bound to just what the 10th does. I'm not bound to just when I give my 10th, I have to expect 10% back. I'm not bound to when I give, it's going to be pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give into their bosoms. It's going to be more, some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. It's going to be more than what I can imagine, because the word says he's going to open a window and pour out a blessing I don't have room enough to receive. So by me giving, it changes everything in return, because instead of me giving to a law, giving to a doctrine, giving to a church because they told me I'm supposed to give, I'm giving to a king because of principle. I'm giving to a king because of rights. I'm giving to a king because of authority. I'm giving to a king because he can speak and change things. I'm giving to a king because he can set things in order for my life. Now, when I give, I have a different look on everything. So this Melchizedek is a symbol and representation of who Christ was going to be and what Christ has done and is still doing. But it's showing you in the Old Testament, no, don't think that this just came in the New Testament. Don't think that you stop paying because of this. Don't think that you stop giving because that happened back then. No, this is a schoolmaster. This is a teaching. Now Christ is on the scene. This becomes forever. So if he's a priest forever, that means I have to give forever. That hurts, because somebody told me that we don't have to do none of that stuff in the Old Testament anymore. Somebody told me that I don't have to give if I don't want to. Somebody told me we've done away with that. We might be done away with the law of the Old Testament, but we're never done away with the principle. As long as I can jump and gravity pulls me back down, the law of gravity is here, the principle behind it, I know I can still give. Long as I see the sun come up, I know I'm still giving. Long as I breathe oxygen, I'm still giving. The reason why I'm saying that is, as long as none of these other laws are changing, I know the law to give has never changed.